صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي ونفوز فوزا عظيما. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
The obstacles to God are as much as or more than the ways to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In one narration of our first Imam alayhi salam, he says that there are as many ways to God as there are breaths to the human being. Somebody says that Islam is the way to God, and Islam is the way of life. And to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you need to reach Him through a wasila, through Ahlul Bayt. If you take it to the next level, there is Moses and Jesus and all kinds of ways to God. What does the Imam alayhi salam mean when he says there are as much ways to God as there is breaths to the human being? He means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is closer to you than your own jugular vein. نحن أقرب إليه من حبل الوريد. We're closer to you than your own jugular vein. And this jugular vein, without it, you die. If somebody wants to kill somebody, you go for his jugular. They tell you, go for his jugular. And this is one. Another is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also is, yes, يحول بين المرء وقلبه. He intermediates between you and yourself. You don't know yourself. You do not understand yourself. You do not have the wisdom to make decisions on your own. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you a nafs, He gave you a ruh, He gave you an aql. This is all يحول بين المرء وقلبه. Between man and his heart is God. This is what the Quran says. The Quran also says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن. Invite to the path of your Lord through a number of ways. So you can also invite to God as much as there are obstacles to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But today, we want to ask the question, what are the obstacles to God? What are the blocks and the boulders in front of me that prevent me from getting to this God who is closer to me than my own jugular vein? You know, when you want to solve a math problem, there are people who can solve it in a second, like Asians or Indians and so on and so forth. But it's not even funny, that's serious. You go to the university and they are exceeding in their grades. Me, I study 3 weeks for one test, I barely pass it. I see these guys, I don't find them studying, some of them. Why? Because they are able to recognize numbers very quickly. Their mind is mathematical. She's mathematical. He's mathematical. And there you find that also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what are the obstacles between me and my Lord? Because He does it all the time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He shows you signs and you can't see it. Just كَذَلِكَ أَتَتْكَ آيَاتُنَا فَنَسِيتَهَا فَكَذَلِكَ الْيَوْمَ تُنْسَى. You forgot our signs, you will also be forgotten. And forgotten, and forgotten, and forgotten. And then there's this one man, he'll be resurrected on the Day of Judgment, blind. Why am I blind? He said, because I gave you signs, and in the dunya you were blind. So in the akhirah you will also be blind. The hearts will be blind as well. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he sees God through his heart. So even worse than a blind man is a man with no recognition. It's another quote you can write down. So number one, what are the obstacles to God? Firstly, we find media. Media is a strong obstacle to God today. When you ask yourself, what have the enemies of Islam that we don't? It is media. And when they promote batil and do amr bil munkar wa nahi anil ma'roof, this is when you and I are meant to get bothered and irritated and frustrated, and our blood should boil. It should. Anger, Imam Ali alayhi salam says, if used in the right way, is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Quwwat al-Ghadabiyya. There are 4 powers to the human being. Al-Quwwat al-Aqliyya, until you reach Al-Quwwat al-Ghadabiyya. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas was famous for his anger. Anger for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where when he would be seen angry, a vein would pop up in his forehead. And when Shimr offered him amnesty, he told him, أَتُؤْمِنُنِي وَابْنَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ لَا أَمَانَ لَهِ. Shimr ran away. Why? Because he saw a vein emerge within the forehead of Al-Abbas ibn Amir al-Mu'min alayhi salam. So, media, number one. How can we use media? Because it's not going to go away. You must know how to channel your anger in a productive way. In a productive way. This is number one. Okay, this is number two. Not only media, but desires. The Quran says that another obstacle to God, so you can say media is external. There's internal barriers, external barriers. Media is external. Internal is what? Desires. يَتَّبِعُونَ الشَّهَوَاتِ. There's some people, when you tell him you have desires, he goes home and he does istighfar and he gets rid of it. Other people, they follow shahawat. يَتَّبِعُونَ الشَّهَوَاتِ. Ittiba' is meant to be given to Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam. Yes? قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهِ فَاتَّبِعُونِ. Same word, ittiba' فَاتَّبِعُونِ. Follow me, I will follow you. I will love me, I will love you. This is how it works with the Prophet. If he sees that you are showing respect to him, he will show respect to you. But there are some people, they do ittiba' to who? To their desires. They tap into the satanic abilities which the human being could have. This is number two. Number two obstacle. Desires. For example, eating. For example, illegitimate relationships. For example, watching something inappropriate or listening to something inappropriate. You know what these things could do nowadays? They could conquer your sentiments. They could control you as a human being. And that's what they want. They want to control you. That's number two. Number three is the environment. Yes, so we say about Imam Husseini alayhi salam, أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها وأشهد أنك. Why? Because he was دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, whether you placed him in Karbala or whether you placed him in Medina or whether you placed him in Nahrawan, wherever you placed him, he was always Hussein ibn Ali. And they would adapt to him. You remember Michael Hart, when he wrote the 100 most influential, when he was speaking about the Prophet of Islam, he said that he was a moon in the midst of darkness. Wherever you place this Prophet, this Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, the world adapts to him. So that's how you have to be. You don't copy this person. Oh, what is she doing? I'm going to do the same thing. What is he doing? I'm going to do the same thing. What are they doing? I'm going to do the absolute same thing. No. You need to be thabat. يثبت الله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ولولا دفع الله. قل هو الله أحد. He speaks to Musa, إني أنا الله. Where do you get this? Roots of your character, the roots of your personality. Well, you get it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You want knowledge, you say Ya Alim. You want basira, you say Ya Basir. You want, for example, sabr, you say Ya Sabur. You want, for example, yes, and so on and so forth. You want Izzah? Where does Izzah come from? They said بِعِزَّةِ فِرْعَوْنَ. He said, no. مَنْ كَانَ يُرِيدُ الْعِزَّةَ فَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةُ جَمِيعًا. You have to have this vertical. مَنْ أَصْلَحَ مَا بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ. If you fix what's between you and God, what happens? أَصْلَحَ اللَّهُ مَا بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ النَّاسِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you put it in context, it makes more sense. أَصْلَحَ اللَّهُ مَا بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ النَّاسِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will fix what's between you and the people. Yes? حسبي الخالق من المخلوقين حسبي الرب من المربوبين. God is enough for me when I'm amidst the creation. The Creator is enough for me when I'm amidst fellow man. So this is number 3, the environment. Who will adapt to who? It's a war of adaptation. You know, today in science they speak to us about evolution and adaptation. But where is the true struggle to adapt? It's in this life. Will you maintain your Muslim identity in front of kuffar? Will you maintain your Muslim personality and your I and your Islamic ego? You need the Islamic ego. When psychology comes and speaks to you about the ego and the ID and so on and so forth, where's the Islamic ego? Where is the love of Hussein flowing in your veins? When they told Abis, Ajaninta ya Abis, have you gone mad? He said, yes, Hubbul Hussein ajannani. Some people go crazy over a car. I know my friends, you know, I love them, but they also have problems, which is cars. Cars, that's important. But not cars, always cars. Oh, look at these tires. He knows the type of the tire. He knows the look at this Hellcat, look at this Heaven Cat, look at all these Hellcats and Heaven Cats. I don't have time for these Hellcats. Speak to me about something else. Wallahi, once in the car, this friend of mine, great guy, yes, but speaks for 30 minutes about cars, 45 minutes about cars. I've never seen anything like, or what? The stock market. For about 45 minutes about the stock market. You know, interesting people we find in this life. This is number 3, the environment. Go crazy for Hussein. Go crazy for Islam. Go crazy for Quran. Why is it that other sects, and I don't want to make it intersectarian, but why do other sects know more about Islam and more about Quran than you and I do? We might have a know-how, we might have this memorized, but you need to know about the Quran. This is number 3, brothers and sisters. So number 1, what are the obstacles to God? Number 2, how do I strengthen the bridges and weaken the obstacles? Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says that I sat at the gate of my heart. Look at where his mind was. Amir al-Mu'mineen, the gate of my heart. Who says these kinds of stuff? The gate of my heart. I sat at the gate of my heart and I allowed no one to enter except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes? ما وسعتني أرضي ولا سمائي ولكن وسعني قلب عبدي المؤمن. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Hadith Qudsi, in a divine quote, He says, nothing has embraced me except, neither the heavens nor the earth, except the heart of the believer. That's where I am. I'm in the heart of the believer. That Fatima Zahra doesn't have a grave. Today we say her grave is in the heart of every believer. If Imam Mahdi doesn't have a home today, we say his home is in the heart of every believer. The Quran speaks about qalb salim. It speaks about qalb, for example, lahiyatan qulubuhum, distracted hearts. Tawajjuh, you know the Maulana, Urdu Maulana. He tells you tawajjuh. Just distracted hearts. This is one. You have a sound heart. You have also many different types of hearts. So protecting what you have. You might have bought a nice car. You might have made a position in the stock market. You might have prayed Salatul Layl for 7 days every day. Protect it. Habib Fadl Abbas took it from the left hand, or from the right hand to the left hand to his teeth. Why? What is he telling you? The flask of water. Protect. Keep protecting. Because people are waiting to steal. Yes. I remember this. Yansakhullah ma yulqi shaytan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will delete what shaytan will spew. So God is deleting, shaytan is spewing. Work with that. God is break, and shaytan is fuel. Why? Because you have haram and halal. What's more important? If you go and you speak to the alim and you tell him, give me advice, he'll tell you, stay away from maharim. Stay away from haram. Because even more than halal, haram. What's haram? Number one, la ilaha. Negation and then acceptance. Yes? Number one, there is no God except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is when we have to start to protect. Number one, protect the road. Which road? Which road am I on? Where am I going? Amir al-Mu'mineen says you need to know where you're going. Where are you heading? You can't just drive around. You cannot just do nothing. You have to do something. And how do we do this? Through purification. Yes, يزكيهم. Rasulullah came to purify them. وَيُعَلِّمُهُم. You cannot teach somebody who's arrogant. You cannot teach an old dog new tricks. But if the old dog is humble, he's going to learn new tricks. So work with that. أَفَمَنْ أَسَّسَ بُنْيَانَهُ عَلَى تَقْوَى مِنَ اللَّهِ كَمَنْ أَسَّسَ بُنْيَانَهُ عَلَى شَفَى جُرُفٍ هَارٍ فَانْهَارَ بِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the one who has a firm foundation built on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a spiritual construction, a spiritual road, a moral and ethical framework. Don't just speak to me about economics. Don't just speak to me about geography. Don't just speak to me about the car and the stock market. Speak to me about the spiritual market, spiritual logic, the spiritual GPS, the spiritual direction, the godly direction, the Quranic, the biblical, the Judaic direction. All they know about is how to make money. I say this is great. Everybody needs to know how to make money. But you need to, number one, not sound like Toy Story. And number two, you need to know how to have a spiritual income, spiritual revenue. I remember speaking to my cousin, and this is the same cousin who would, when it was time for salah, he says, Allahu Akbar, and he goes back to bed. So his mom hears takbir, but he's doing another kind of takbir under the blanket. And then I told him once, give me some advice. And he was like, revenue, you need revenue. I told him, spiritual revenue, might be talking to the right person. But if you think I'm Elon Musk, or if you think I'm some Robert Gates guy, then it's not going to work. You go to Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, you speak to him about the stock market. Imagine Ali ibn Abi Talib is right there, and you sit down next to him. Tell me, Ali, what do you think about Elon Musk? He's not going to answer you. He's going to ignore you because he's busy with the spiritual direction. فَإِنْ يَعْلَمْ طُرُقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ أَفْضَلْ مِنْ طُرُقِ الْأَرْضِ. Ask me about the status of Maytham al-Tammar, where they would tell him, oh Maytham, we speak about you in the midst of the night. Wow. You know what that does to somebody like Maytham? Do you know what it did to Kumail when he would hold his hand and he would take him, he would exit him from the mosque and he would tell him, Kumail, hearts are empty. You need to fill it with knowledge. He tells him there's a difference between, this is like magic. It's like spiritual seduction. He tells him there's a difference between knowledge and money. Knowledge, the more you give, the more you have. Money, the more you give, the less you have. It just drives him insane, drives him crazy. You know what that does to a man? And that's what Ali ibn Abi Talib used to do to these men. He used to take them, just like Jesus. He comes to St. Paul, he tells him, Paul, you're fishing for fish, right? He's like, come with me. He tells him, why? Paul was a murderer. You know what this means? And it's just like, he tells him, I'll make you a fisherman of men. This is number 2. How to? Number 3, what is the secret of the Husseini revolution? It was based on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was based on Rabb al-Alameen, thabat. Karbala needs thabat. أَفَمَنْ أَسَّسَ بُنْيَانَهُ. Number 3. Number 4, how to recognize the path of God. You know, brothers and sisters, it is said that this guy, Ibn Muljam, he comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Ibn Abi Talib tells him, why have you given up? Why did you give up? Why did you despair? Yes, لا تيأس. Tells him, don't give up. من روح الله لا تيأسوا من روح الله فإنه لا يأس من روح الله إلا القوم الكافرون. Tells him, يا أبا محمد أنت تنقذ من في النار. He tells him, oh Ali, are you the one who saves people from hell? This is been with you. Could you imagine? So this is the type of people that Imam Ali alayhi salam had to deal with. You need to recognize, wake up before it's too late. If you miss Fajr, you need to feel guilty. If you're not in line with the spiritual revolution of Sayyid al-Shuhada, you need to feel guilt. You need to feel like you need to redeem yourself. You know, we go to the gym and we couldn't lift, for example. So you go back the next day. Some go early, some start drinking protein, some start... Why? Because you want to redeem yourself. Redeem yourself in front of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, brothers and sisters. If not today, when? If not now, when? If not here, where? So how do we begin to find ourselves aligning with the spiritual revolution of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It is dhabihullah. When you speak about, for example, Imam al-Hasan, al-Mujtaba, but the sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein was the sacrifice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why, for example, when they saw the shadow of 12th Imam in Karbala, the angels came, they saw Hussein dead. They wanted to come and save him. Allah sent angels to Karbala to save. You know, just like Ibrahim, the story of Ibrahim, where the angel and saves him. Allah sends angels to who? To Hussein, and they get sad. They see that it's too late. He's already dead. He's not joking with these angels, but they're about to leave. They're about to fly away with their wings, which go from the east of the hemisphere to the right of the hemisphere. You know, Jibreel, he in heaven there's an angel that looks just like Ali ibn Abi Talib, for example. But they came to this angels, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them, don't give up. A shadow of 12th Imam emerged. Allah said, بِهَذَا أَنْتَقِمُ لِهَذَا. The story has to continue. You know, sometimes in a movie, there is like a scene, you're like, if only that didn't happen, the movie would have been over. Yeah, but you need more money. You need more views. You need more marketing of the movie. The movie has to continue. And likewise in Islam, the movie continued. He told him, through this shadow of 12th Imam, I will redeem the martyrdom of Al-Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And that's why our 12th Imam, when he comes out, he's going to go where? He's going to go to Jerusalem, he's going to go to all kinds of places, and then he goes to Karbala. He opens up the shrine of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And he sees the 6-month-old baby of Aba Abdullah laying on his chest. He raises it to the sky and he says, Allahumma ma dhanbu hadha at-tifl ar-radhiya. He says, oh Allah, what is the guilt of this 6-month-old baby? This was a 6-month-old baby that hurt Sahib al-Zaman, but there was today a youth who also hurt Sahib al-Zaman. This is who? Qasim ibn al-Hasan, we remember today. This youth who was so loyal to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. He hears Aba Abdullah saying, Ala hal min nasirin yansuruna. ألا هل من معين يعيننا ألا هل من ذاب يذب عن حرم الله. He says, is there anybody to help me? I'm alone. There's no one else to support the grandson of the Prophet of Islam. Yes, a young boy looking like his brother. You know, when you see your brother, when you remember your brother, you know what it does to you. This Qasim, he comes to him, he tells him, عَمَّا يَا حُسَيْنَ تَأْذَنُ لِي لِلْقِتَالِ. He tells him, أَنْتَ الْوَدِيعَ. When we look at you, remember Al-Hasan. It's not time for you to leave, because we'll lose Hasan and we'll lose you as well. He tells him, يَا عَمْ, ask me how I see death. He tells him, كَيْفَ تَرَى الْمَوْتِ. He told him, how do you see death? He told him, أَحْلَى مِنَ الْعَسَالِ. Sweeter than honey. He told him, go and ask permission from your mother. I have nothing to do with this. If she says yes, I'll give you the permission. He told him, my mother sent me, Aba Abdullah. He sees Qasim coming towards him with the amam of Al-Hasan, with the sword. He was barely able to pick up the sword, yes? He tells him, go and make us proud, oh Qasim. Qasim goes on to the field, making Bani Hashim proud. He said, إن تنكروني فأنا نجل الحسن سبط النبي المجتبى والمؤتمن. هذا حسين كالأسير المرتهن بين أناس لاصقوا صوب المزن. He told him, if you don't know me, let me tell you who I am. I am Qasim, son of Hassan. Now am I afraid of death? Rather, death is afraid of me. You know, Qasim, he fights and fights and fights until his sandals unstrips, it rips open. He goes down to fix his sandal when an enemy of Allah comes and strikes Al-Qasim ibn al-Hasan on his head. Ajarakum Allah. Qasim shouts out, Amma adrikni ya Hussein, help me, oh my uncle, oh Hussein. He comes to him, he sees him in his last moments. Yes, he wants to pick up one side, the other side falls down. He tries to pick up the other side falls down until he picks him up. Yes, Qasim leaves the world. He takes him where? He takes him to the tents. Before the ladies see him, very quickly he places him next to the body of Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam. You know what Abu Abdullah does? Because he can't handle seeing Qasim dead. He can't handle seeing Ali al-Akbar dead. He lies between the two bodies. Zainab comes to the tents. She tells him, Abu Abdullah, the mother of Qasim wants to see him. They come into the tents, they see the body of Qasim. They scream, Wa Muhammadah, Wa Aliyah, Wa Sayyidah, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, wa la Ali al-Azim. بعطش الحسين وغربة الحسين ووحدة الحسين يسر أمورنا اقضي حوائجنا عجل وليك الفرج. الفاتحة قبلها صلوات.